I wholeheartedly believe that this is the most important waiver wire week we've had in fantasy football this year. It might be the most important week for the entire season, but certainly thus far, this is the most important week. I've got over 20 names for you. There's something for smaller and larger leagues here. Let's start with guys that should already be rostered. If you're in a smaller league, these names would obviously take priority, but us who are playing in like 12, 14 team leagues, these guys will already be rostered. Let's start with my 1A. This is tied for another name, but we will be talking about Dontayvion Wicks, the Baba Yaga himself. Look, unfortunately for Christian Watson owners, the guy cannot stay healthy, suffered a high ankle sprain versus the Vikings yesterday, and it's looking like he's going to miss a significant amount of time. High ankle sprain, that's typically, 4 weeks? He's probably going to go on IR. I think there's a lot of value here with Dontayvion Wicks, who's available in over 80% of leagues across all platforms. Before this injury, Dontayvion Wicks and Christian Watson, they were splitting time as outside wide receivers, splitting opportunities, splitting snaps, splitting targets, okay? Now, after the Christian Watson injury, which happened in the first quarter, Wicks rarely left the field. On the game, he played 76% of the snaps. He led the team in target share with 26% of the targets and had a career high 13 targets. Now, to be fair, they threw the ball 50 times, but still, time and time again, Jordan Love is looking for Dontayvion Wicks when he's on the field. And you can see, again, his involvement was career high if you look at his percentage of offensive snaps compared to the rest of his career. And that was with 1 quarter splitting with Christian Watson. Now he's going to have 4 quarters where he is that guy on the outside for this team. I mean, I'm excited to see it, honestly. But he turned those 13 targets into 78 yards, 2 receiving touchdowns, and just under 25 PPR points. And we have to keep in mind that this isn't just some random guy who stepped in. This is a young player who was a rookie last year who got opportunities, stepped up in week 15, 16, and 18 with no Christian Watson and put up some big fantasy points. I believe, guys, this is a gut call for me on Dontayvion Wicks. I believe he is an extremely talented player, and the only thing that was missing from him breaking out was full-time opportunities. I think that's what we're now seeing. I totally think he can be Jordan Love's second favorite target right behind Jaden Reed in this offense. So I am personally willing to pay up because I believe in him as a talent. If you guys remember, before week 1, we had a stash video and he was my #1 player to stash. We have loved this guy for quite some time. I do believe there's enough time for him to establish himself as the #2 on this offense. And even when Watson comes back, he can be that guy for this team. So I'm willing to spend up big. I know for sure I have a flex option at worst, and I'm willing to pay about 25 to 35% of my fab. If you think your league is going to go hard on him, maybe you have to spend 40%. I know this sounds crazy, but this is just my belief in a player that I already loved coming into the season. Now seeing opportunities, a young player that I believe can break out attached to a superstar quarterback in Jordan Love that's going to throw the ball a lot. I want the Baba Yaga on my team. I want him for sure. All right, 1B, let's talk about Xavier Legette, who as well was featured in our stash videos this year. Maybe y'all should watch them stash videos, okay? You're trying to beat the breakout. We're doing it every single week. Now, we are very early into Xavier Legette's career, but he's already getting a high percentage of opportunities. Starting with his snap count, that was a career high for him here in week 4. He had 87% of the snaps. In routes runs, he was tied with Deontay Johnson, and he had 12 total touches, 10 being targets, 2 being carries. So they're using him in some really creative ways, trying to get his big body, that athleticism in open space. And he turned those opportunities into 6 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown, just under 20 PPR points. Look, Andy Dalton is cooking. Adam Thielen is on the IR. And by the way, an older player, if Legette's this young rookie who's going to continue to play well, he's going to establish a role over Adam Thielen. That is my belief. You have to make a gut call with these waiver wires. I believe this is a great pickup. I'm going to spend 25 to 30% of my fab to get him on my team. If you lost Rashee Rice, if you lost Christian Watson, if you lost a starting wide receiver, I believe you can go ahead and play Legette every week while Andy Dalton is a starter. Now, why do I have Wicks ahead of Legette? Because I know there's a possibility that Bryce Young could come back to the Panthers at any time, and that does scare me if I'm honest with you. I don't want to play Xavier Legette if Bryce Young's a starter, but right now there's no indication that that change will happen. And before we move on, I just want to recognize that I understand I'm being quite aggressive with those first two names. I just believe there is potential league winning status with these names, and I'd rather pay the ticket to see the show and see if that show is good or not. I'd rather have that opportunity than just be waiting on the sidelines. All right, at number 3, Kareem Hunt. Guys, this is a starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's official. Carson Steele, RIP. You lost your job. You just did. He was struggling with fumble issues already before he was named the starter, and then he becomes a starter and fumbles the ball in this game, which led to him completely losing his job. They didn't use him pretty much at all after that fumble, which meant that Kareem Hunt had more opportunities. He led the team in snaps. He had 45% of the snaps in the first game. That should go up as he gets more and more involved in this offense. He had 14 carries, which was a team high, compared to 5 for Samaje Perine. And again, you have to keep in mind, this is his first game. His role could grow even bigger as he learns more about this offense and more about what they want from him. But he looked really good with those opportunities. A 29-year-old Kareem Hunt looked great. 85 total yards, and he averaged just under 5 yards per carry. He was used in the air. He was used on the ground. And then unfortunately, but I think there's a benefit to this, he was vultured on the goal line by Samaje Perine. You can see that they used Kareem Hunt in so many different ways. Early downs, goal line, short yardage. They used him through the air as well. Now, I think because Samaje Perine vultured that touchdown, that's going to give you guys an even cheaper buy-in on the waiver wire for Kareem Hunt. People are not going to realize how dominant he was with the touches in his first appearance with the Chiefs. So, well, first appearance back with the Chiefs, if you will. So I'm willing to get aggressive here, 20 to 25%. I believe you have a legit starting option at running back with Kareem Hunt here on a good offense that just lost their best playmaker in Rashee Rice, so they might get more creative with their running backs. I definitely want Kareem Hunt on my team. All right, at number 4, let's talk about Chase Brown. I'm not going to spend much time because I believe he should already be rostered in most leagues, but in case he's not and he's available, his role is growing, guys. This is the first time that we've seen these guys so close an opportunity between Zach Moss and Chase Brown. In fact, Zach Moss had just one more opportunity than Chase Brown in this game. And on carries, they were tied with 15. And Chase Brown looked so good. It was versus Carolina, so how much stock can we really put into that? But he averaged over 5 yards per carry, had 2 rushing touchdowns. I don't personally think that Zach Moss is like going to go away or anything, but certainly Chase Brown's role is growing. I think 15% of your fab can get you in that conversation. All right, at 5A, this is an interesting situation. Let's talk about Trey Sermon. At the time of recording this, a report just came out from Ian Rappaport that said Colt star running back was diagnosed with a high ankle sprain, sources say. Though it's believed to be pretty mild, Indy will get a full report tomorrow, but in the words of one source, he's okay. What are we supposed to do with that? Like, how, right here, trying to make content for you, how am I supposed to digest that? I really don't know. But if a report comes out tomorrow and they are going to put him on the IR, he's going to miss 4 weeks, it's a serious injury, then we need to be more aggressive with Trey Sermon. But what it sounds like a Joe Mixon ankle sprain in the sense of it's probably 1 or 2 weeks that JT will miss. And if that's the case, we can't spend too much on Trey Sermon. He moves into that spot start category. Now, there was a doctor in the comments, Tom Christ, who said it was the same ankle he has had several high ankle sprains on in 2022. They range in severity. Mild ones don't hurt production much. Running backs average missing 2.5 games, but plenty mild severity injuries have returned quicker. So we don't have a lot of information right now, but right now this is like the spot start option. You have the starting running back potentially next week behind a great offensive line in an offense that might be led by Joe Flacco. That's pretty intriguing if you just need to win this week. So I don't want to be too aggressive unless further reports come out, but I am willing to, pick him up and play him if you need help at running back. At 5B, we have Wan'Dale Robinson. If you don't need a running back, you don't need a spot start, I would prefer Wan'Dale long-term as an option. This is pretty simple. In PPR leagues, he's a total floor play because of the targets. He's averaging 9.5 targets per game through 4 weeks. In week 4, he had 14 targets. Now, what is he doing with those targets? About as little as anyone in the NFL can do with targets. He catches the ball, tries to make someone miss, and then he doesn't make anyone miss, and then he's tackled. But he's getting so many targets that his floor is so safe in PPR. He's a legit flex play. He really is. All right, at 7, let's talk about Josh Downs. Now, If I knew that Joe Flacco was starting for the next 4 weeks, I would put Josh Downs much higher. By the way, Josh Downs, another name that's been on our stash videos in back-to-back weeks. Hopefully you beat the breakout like we were trying to do. But in Josh Downs' second healthy week, he had 62% of the snaps. That's not uncommon. He's a slot receiver. He won't see 2 wide receiver sets. But he had 9 targets, which was tied with a team high with Michael Pittman. The Flacco play really helped Downs out, just like Gardner Minshew did last year when he started playing for this team. He turned 9 targets into 8 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown, 22 fantasy points. Like I said, if I knew Flacco was the starter for this team rest of the season, I would blow my load for Josh Downs. All right, pause. Wait, what the hell? Okay, we would go hard after Josh Downs is what we're trying to say, all right? Bussin', all right? But we don't know that. It's probably going to be A-Rich very soon, and they want him to develop. So I'd say 5 to 15% of your fab. All right, at number 8, let's talk about tight ends. Do you need a tight end? I'll be honest, tight end position every week is unpredictable, okay? So you have to keep in mind that this time last week, the big names were Cole Kmet and Tyler Conklin. How did that work out? How did that work out for the people who chased one good week? The reality is, tight ends are unpredictable. You should not be spending a high percentage of your fab on any tight end in fantasy football. You just should not do it. In fact, what I like to do is I like to let waivers clear and then look at available tight ends based off of matchup, and I like to just make a call based off of that instead of wasting my fab or my priority waiver, right? But if you want to do that this week, Tucker Kraft and Taysom Hill are your options. All right, Tucker Kraft had 9 targets, caught 6 of them. He had a touchdown. He is a starting tight end for Jordan Love. That's very intriguing. He's definitely more intriguing to me than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill had 14 points and caught nothing. No targets, no catches. It was all rushing usage. So the only time Taysom Hill is going to pay off is if he gets a rushing touchdown. And I just don't know how anyone will predict that. And he is also dealing with an injury. So like I said, I suggest not spending any fab, but you guys make your call. At number 9, some cheaper wide receivers that are going under the radar, Jordan Whittington and Tutu Atwell. These are temporary fixes for the Cooper Kupps, for the Puka Nakuas. These two separated themselves from the rest of the pack, in my opinion. You know, a couple weeks ago, I talked about Jordan Whittington. I thought he would be more valuable than Demarcus Robinson. Well, Jordan Whittington comes out in week 4, has more snaps than any wide receiver, runs more routes than any wide receiver, has more targets than any wide receiver, and then Tutu Atwell as well was right behind him. Those are the 2 names to add if you want to, flex spot start if you need help at wide receiver. At number 10, if you need a quarterback, you can consider Andy Dalton. They are throwing the ball a lot in Carolina. And then in super flex leagues, go pick up Joe Flacco if you need help at quarterback too. If he is starting, he will be a great start in super flex leagues. All right, let's finish off with some defensive streamers, and then I got some honorable mentions. If you want to stream the defensive position this week, we got Colts at Jags. The Jags team is in complete disarray. It's so bad, and it's a great streaming option for turnovers, right? The Dolphins at the Patriots, if they decide to keep playing Jacoby Brissett, they're going to keep losing games, and it's just a good, formula for a defense in fantasy football. And then the Giants versus the Seahawks. Daniel Jones is playing good football, but this is a very good Seahawks defense, so I think he's a great option as well. Finishing off with some honorable mentions. This is for deeper formats. Let's talk about the Chiefs wide receivers. Look, Rashee Rice went down. I was very sad about it in the stream we made yesterday. But I'll be honest with you, I don't have any interest in picking up wide receivers in Kansas City. I just don't. I don't want Juju. No, I don't. I don't want McCole Hardman. Absolutely not. I'm not trying to go out there and pick up Justin Watson. I mean, this is reverting to what we saw last year before Rashee Rice broke out. What do I mean by that? I mean, they're going to try and run the ball. They're going to try and play good defense, and Travis Kelce's going to dominate. And one of these random wide receivers will be good, but it will not be consistent. I don't want to part in that Chiefs wide receiver room. Trey Tucker's a fine name, but you got to keep in mind when Devontae Adams comes back, he's probably not startable. Colby Parkinson, another name that you could probably get for free off waivers. He's getting targets with the Rams. K. Dalton, if you want to chase his game. Emmanuel Wilson is getting split opportunities with Josh Jacobs. Pop Douglas is a decent option if Drake May decides to start. And Antonio Gibson is there in case they decide to go away from Stevenson because he keeps fumbling the ball. But those are the waiver wires for this week. I appreciate you guys for watching the video. Do me a massive favor. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the content. Subscribe. And the last thing I'll say is if you want to ask me a question, maybe you want to ask me a question about waivers or a start sit or a trade question, check out the pinned comment down below. It's a link to our website. By the way, if you don't have an account yet, you can sign up, use the promo code LAND. You can sign up for a 7-day free trial. You'll get free access to our trade calculator, free access to weekly and rest of season expert consensus rankings, free access to our league analyzer. Use the code LAND and get a free account. And if you want to use that link down below, you can ask me a question at any time. All right, I appreciate you guys for watching. Good luck this week, and I'll see you very soon. And I'll leave any updated comments down below if things change. Thank you. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.